going through the announcements, say a word or two, then we're going to do some questions real quick, and then we're going to launch into a lecture. It's going to be a topic. You don't need to take notes, I think. Everything I'm saying is going to be on the article, and it's really a lot of videos. This is one of those things that it's hard to grasp by writing stuff on the board. You've got to see a lot of things and appreciate it, but once you've got it, it's really pretty simple. For some announcements, I do want to remind you that now at the top of the announcements page, there's a spreadsheet you can go to, plug in the grades you have for exam 1, exam 2, and you can also plug in different hypothetical values for your final grade, things like that. It'll tell you where you stand in the class. We are going to be doing supply and demand for the rest of the class, but this is how I want to do it. A lot of times those supply and demand graphs, they're kind of really technical in nature. You don't really get much profound out of it. It's something we've got to do. It's really boring if you spend a whole lecture doing it. It's also one of those things that's a lot better if you practice a lot. So for the remainder of the semester, or at least next few weeks, I'm going to be beginning the classes with some quick supply and demand questions. And if y'all are getting it, then we can move on from it. And if y'all are doing well, and as we go along with practice more, you do better and better, it's something I don't have to ask on the final. We have most of you have seen your exam 2 grades. We have all the grades with the TA. So if you want to sit down with the TAs, pull your test, compare it to an answer key, look over everything, please arrange your time with the TA to do it, and they'll be glad to accommodate you. Paper grades, you saw in my email, some of you, the papers have been going like this. Generally, the students who follow the directions are doing really well. It's like A's and B's and a lot of A's. So if you follow the directions, you did really well. But a good many of you simply didn't follow directions. You didn't do what I asked you to do, and in that case, you did really bad. I mean, we're talking grades between 20 and 50. And when that happens, I'm trying to go into D2L and post that grade as soon as you can. By the way, if you go to D2L, most of you will have a 0 for your paper grade. That just means we haven't entered it. There's one person I gave a 0 to, but I contacted that person. And so a lot of you have really bad paper grades because you didn't follow the directions. And you know, one reason people come and hire college graduates is they assume if you have a college degree, you can read some simple directions, follow it, have the self-discipline to execute it on your own. Not a lot, but that's the minimum a business major should do. So if you didn't follow directions, I gave you a low grade. Now, sometimes for some of you, that grade is going to be very scary low. But I'll let you do this. And there's no promises about exactly how it will benefit you or what I'll do with it. All I'll do is this. I'll let you turn something into me. And basically, if you're wondering which one of those papers you have, if you followed the directions, you're okay. If you didn't read the directions well, or you read them well and didn't have the time to follow them, you probably had a low paper grade. If you have a low paper grade, or suspect you do, I'll let you do this. I'll let you go back to the instructions, read it carefully again, write a short paragraph describing what directions you did not follow. So describe not why you didn't follow directions, but what directions you did not follow. And you turn that in to me. I need it. You can email it to me, and I want a hard copy. Just that way we make sure, one number gets lost. We don't have to debate over whether you turn it in. Then, what I'll do is this. Suppose it comes time to your final grade, and you're on the threshold of passing or failing, or threshold of a C or D, and that low paper grade is really dragging you down. If you turn that in, I'll take it out, I'll look at it, I'll consider it, and I'll recognize the fact that you know what the directions meant. You knew how to follow them if you decided to or had the time to. Whether that will take you from failing to passing if you have a 58 or 59 or 56, I don't know. It just depends on my judgment at the time. But it is something that I will look at very seriously and will try to be as fair as I can. There's a couple homeworks up. All this stuff was up in last class, homework 10. So we can cancel class Friday. Homework 12, if you were in class on March 13th, you know, I have you on the clickers, and we brought the clickers up at the end of class so you could see whether it really registered you or not. If you were here on that day where we did food paternalism, we saw Dr. Jason Lusk on the Stossel show, then you've got a homework for homework 12, and you don't need to turn anything in. If you want to double check, you can go there at the top of this page. You can download the spreadsheet with the attendance. If it has you as attendance on March 13th, you've got 100. If you didn't, you just need to complete the assignment. And finally, a very simple homework assignment I want you to do before Wednesday. And I'm going to show you what that is in just a little bit. Any questions about anything before we go to clickers? Okay, clicker time. Oh, one more thing. Let's give a big round of applause to Amy Mitchell. Amy is the only one here who was brave enough to drop the F-bomb on a class paper. That took a lot of guts. Now, I had a lot of fun with this. I went on Facebook and I put students drop the F-bomb on class paper. What should I do? I got a lot of comments. And before you know the first reaction, I'm just having fun here. She did drop the F-bomb. But anyway, I started this discussion on what should I do. And there was an older lady that I know who suggested it was unacceptable. And then I remember, well, that's the same lady who ran an elementary school for 10 years by being a rampant alcoholic, hiding it from everybody. That was unacceptable. That was unacceptable. I had a former student register in and say, you know what? The F-bomb is actually a very useful tool in the real world. You gotta know when to use it or not, but it's very useful. And here's the final piece of evidence that made me say, I really shouldn't penalize someone for doing that. Because at dinner last night, I heard this.
What is it that Daddy says?
Buckets.
Now, I actually don't know what she was saying. I actually don't know what she was saying. She didn't actually hear me say that. I don't know what it was. Okay. That's just fun. Let's do some clickers. This is our review because, if you take some other economic business classes, they do really want you to know supply and demand. This is the supply for wheat. So we're talking about people who supply wheat. You're thinking wheat farmers. As price goes up, they want to produce more. But sometimes at any given price, they'll produce more or less. Now, farmers can produce wheat or canola. A lot of times they double crop it. Tolerate one yield with another. But as the price of, say, canola rises or falls relative to wheat, that will change how much wheat you plant. Meaning, if you're thinking about whether I should plant wheat this year, how many of my acres should I plant, I'm going to be thinking back to my mind, well, what's the price of canola, because that's something else. So this question says, this is a supply shift. We go from S to S prime. And that is in response to a change in the price of canola. So the supply curve for wheat shifts to the right or shifts down, however you want to think about it, in response to a change in the price of canola. Is that in response to a rise in the price of canola or fall in the price of canola? Good. Most of you got it right. Here's how you think about it. What's going on when you go from this supply curve to this supply curve? Is that whenever we move to the right of quantity, a higher quantity, that is producing more. So at any price, suppose price was right here. Before, we were producing this much. Now, at that same price, we will produce more. Well, that's like saying, well, the price of canola has fallen, so I'd rather plant wheat now. At any given price for wheat, you will plant more, because the opportunity cost of planting wheat change. Falling price of canola causes wheat producers to produce more. This is a follow-up question. This shift from S to S prime, is that an increase in supply, or is that a decrease in supply? About even. It was an increase. And here's the way to think of it. Remember what we said before? At any price, wheat producers will now produce more. So if the price is $5 and now they'll produce more at that same price, that's an increase in supply. Another easy way to think about it is when we go from this supply curve to this supply curve, we're shifting to your right to a higher quantity. So we call that an increase in supply. That's why. Now, it's the same increase in supply. Now I've drawn the demand curve. How does the equilibrium price and quantity change? Good. Most of you got that. You're going from the old equilibrium right here to a new equilibrium right here, which is at a lower price and a higher quantity. Price falls, quantity rises. Good. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a few remarks, try to set the scene, then I'm going to let some videos do most of the talking because they're really good videos. We want to think about, we're going to a part of the class where we're thinking about the role of markets in society. And we want to think, to what extent do we want to leave markets alone and to what extent do we want to interfere, either through social pressure or public policy. In Texas, like in Oklahoma, there's places that is running out of water. So there was a lot of water for people to grow rice in South Texas and for people in Central Texas to irrigate their lawns. But now, Texas has to go with less water. Someone's got to go without, someone has to got to go with less, but who? Should it be the rice farmers in South Texas who consumes less water? Or should it be the households in Dallas, the suburbans of Central Texas? Well, if you don't know the answer to that, you're not supposed to. I don't know the answer to that. And that's the whole point of all this. If we want to say, is water more valuable in South Texas for wheat, for rice, or Central Texas for people to irrigate their lawns, there's a lot of questions we have to ask. We have to ask, how profitable is rice production in Texas? Do you know that? I don't know that. If South Texas farmers don't raise rice, how profitable is the next most valuable crop? Do you know that? I don't know that. Agronomists don't know that. Politicians certainly don't know that. So if we deny rice farmers water, we don't know exactly what we're losing. But the same goes for households in Central Texas. How much do these suburban households value having green lawns? I don't know. You can't survey the people because everybody lies on surveys. Trust me, that's my line of research. I've spent my whole career proving people lie on surveys. You can't survey them. And you can't just observe their behavior because we haven't seen them have to go without a lot of water like they're about to. Are there other ways households can adapt to water shortages? Different ways of irrigating? I don't know the answer to that question. So, this complex economy, we don't know almost any of it. Take anything you produce, you don't know hardly anything about how it's made. And although that's an obvious statement, to really understand an economy and appreciate how markets work, you need to think of that a little more deeply. And I'm going to show you 2 videos that I think do a good job of that. And after those, I'm going to show you how to do the next one.
This is the world we live in. If we weren't surrounded by it every day, if we didn't take it for granted, we'd be dumbstruck by its very intricacy and brilliance. This is an ordinary, familiar wooden pencil. You might think a pencil is simple. Chances are you've been using one since before you could even read or write. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's simple. In fact, it's complicated, elaborate, beautiful, elegant. Its very existence is too improbable for any one person to truly comprehend. These are the basic materials that go into a pencil: graphite, cedar, metal, and rubber. But if you had all the elements of a pencil right in front of you, could you make a pencil? It's not as easy as you might think. In fact, no single person on the face of the earth could do it without the help of countless others. And this is the key to understanding the world. A pencil, just like you and me, is the end result of a vast and intricate family tree, a symphony of human activity that spans the globe. Through their work and knowledge, a vast number of people have had a hand in making this simple pencil. Unlike your family tree, this one begins with an actual tree. The most immediate ancestor of the pencil is a cedar tree in the Pacific Northwest. But the loggers who harvest the timber are also its ancestors. And these men don't work alone. They, in turn, are assisted by the people and industries that produce the saws, rope, and countless other tools that they use. These are also the ancestors of our pencil. As is the waitress at a nearby diner who sells the loggers lunch, to say nothing of the thousands of people involved in producing that simple midday meal. Across time and space, the web grows. Consider the roads, trucks, ships, communication systems, and the people who design, build, and maintain them. All of them are necessary to bring the lumber to the mills and the slat factories that process them. All of them are also the ancestors of the pencil. And even with the work of all these people, so far all we have is a stained wooden slat, a naked half of a wooden body of a pencil. But its family tree is larger and more extensive. The graphite is mined in China and Sri Lanka. At the pencil factory, it's mixed with clay and heat and other materials before it's extruded, dried, and baked in a kiln. People from different continents, different cultures, cooperate to bring these materials together with waxes and kilns and equipment from across the world. These too are the ancestors of the pencil. And the same is true of the eraser. With ingredients from around the world, it's the end result of a similarly complex and exotic branch of the family tree. As is the ferrule, the metal band made from material that is mined, refined, and shipped from all over the world. Each part of the pencil is the result of the collaboration and cooperation of millions of people. Together, they form a process that is constantly changing and adapting. A change in the availability or cost of material from one place might make another source more desirable, and the process changes and adapts fluidly. And there is a fact that's still more astounding: the absence of a mastermind, of anyone dictating these countless actions which bring a pencil into being. Each member of this family tree supplies only a small amount of the necessary know-how needed to make a pencil. They do so voluntarily, not because they necessarily want pencils or like pencils, but because by working to create them, they exchange their labor and skills for the wages to let them buy what they want and need. What you're seeing is the market at work. The spontaneous configuration of creative human energies, of millions of people with their various skills and talents organizing voluntarily in response to human necessity and desire, as if led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of the intention. Every second we are alive, we benefit from the products of voluntary, spontaneous cooperation. This is the modern world. It's miraculous, it's intricate, and it gets better every day, so long as people are free to interact with each other. If we can leave the creative energies of humankind uninhibited, there's no limit to what we can accomplish.
That was based on an essay from decades ago, a very famous one, and this is what refashioned more to our age. Same spirit.
What's that? It's a smartphone. I can watch movies on it, read a book, talk to my friends on the other side of the country, face to face, download 100,000 songs, sign a petition, download programs that help me check on the weather, the traffic, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, find out who wrote Midsummer Night's Dream, find out what they were dreaming about, translate French into English, and find the best deal on a new pair of boots.
Oh, there's a lot more to me than that. I can connect to the internet using both cellular and Wi-Fi. I have a lightning-fast 1.4 gigahertz quad-core processor, which is 500 times more powerful than the processors on the Apollo space missions. I have a 20-hour battery, 2 cameras, a high-definition LCD screen, and state-of-the-art damage-resistant glass. Yet I weigh only 4 ounces.
I want one. Make me one. I can't make you one.
Well, actually, no one can. No one person on Earth knows how to build me from scratch. Designers in California, New York, and England conceived my design. My plastic casing is made from crude oil, pumped from places as diverse as Canada, Texas, and Russia. Chemists all over the world refine the oil to form raw plastic polymers. Plastics factories in China then use a process of injection molding to form my body. The copper in my circuit board comes from Chile, the United States, Australia, and elsewhere. My LCD screen is manufactured in South Korea. My image sensors in Singapore. My processor in Taiwan. The lithium in my battery is mined in South America. I am the descendant of thousands upon thousands of inventions that reach back hundreds of years. Millions of people and dozens of companies all over the world are now involved in the technologies.
Like cellular, fiber optics, internet, global positioning satellites, power generators, computer servers.
That allow me to do what I do. No one knows how to build even one of these things. Countless more people in far-flung countries play a role in getting me to a store in your city.
Like ship captains, truck drivers, electricians, managers.
Most of these people are seeking simply to meet their own needs and achieve their own purposes, and have no idea that they play a role in my creation. Of course, I'm not the only smartphone. Different businesses compete for smartphone customers. These competitors inspire my company to make me more fabulous, while still pricing me so that millions can afford to use me at work and at play. Competition also means that my technology, as cutting edge as it is, will be obsolete by your next birthday. If I didn't already exist, you might think that such a flowering of free cooperation, competition, and creation was either impossible or magical. And yet, here I am.
Wow! Tell me again.
I did a postdoc and part of my dissertation at North Carolina State University where they were having some problems with hog lagoons and pollution from hog farms. And the hog farmers made an agreement with the North Carolina Attorney General that they would give North Carolina $18 million for us to figure out what new technologies all the different hog farms in North Carolina should use. And one of my jobs was to create a mathematical model showing how if you made these companies adopt this new technology, what would happen to the hog industry, the economy, what would happen to water pollution, air pollution, what would happen to the hogs, all this stuff. And I worked so very hard. But I eventually hit this point where I realized those are questions I just really can't answer. It's just impossible for me to understand all that, much less take that difficult problem, put it into a spreadsheet and say, this is what you should do. And for this reason, most economists, they hit a point where they are greatly humbled by the world. And one of the Nobel-winning economists, F.A. Hayek, once said, a curious path of economics is to demonstrate to men how little they know of what they think they can control. And every economist at point hits that, where they realize, you know, I have studied this stuff a lot, but the world's a very complicated place. I can't even understand it, much less say what this business should charge, what they should be producing, where their input should come from. Can't happen. So go back to that Texas example. And suppose Texas came to someone like me and said, well, let's just look at the groups, rice farmers in suburban central Texas. How do we figure out which one should go without water or go with 20% less water? And almost every economist is going to make this first recommendation. This is ideally what we would like to do, is first say, well, first, you don't want to ask me, because I don't know anything about rice farming, much less the profits they can make on rice, their opportunity cost, the next most profitable crop. I don't know anything about the value different households place on green land. I don't know all that, but you know what? They do. That information is decentralized. It cannot be centralized into me, or my spreadsheet, or my book. It's decentralized in that the rice farmer knows how much money they can make, how much money they can make in the next most profitable crop, any alternatives they have to rice, whether only that rice farmer knows whether their family depends solely on the rice income or whether that's just 20% of the total income. Only they know that. Only the households in Central Texas know how much they value a green wall, what things they could do to try to conserve water. Only they know that. And so you want to design some kind of decision-making apparatus that exploits that decentralized information. Let people reveal that information for themselves. And it's actually a very easy way to do it. There's a very easy solution on this. Anybody have any ideas? So remember, the decision is you have water. Who gets it? The rice farmers, the suburbans. What's one way we can make them make that decision?
Whoever has more money.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Basically, if rice farmers really need the water a lot, they'll pay a high price for it, right? If the suburbans really want that water for their loans, they'd be willing to pay a high price. So just sell it. And whoever can pay the most money for it values it the most. Now, sometimes we don't always like the outcome of that, because maybe we think that people with more money are favored. But that is usually how we allocate most things in the world. Whoever pays the most money gets it. And a lot of times that's the only really good way to say who values it the most. And in fact, what they're trying to do right now, a group of Central Texans have banded together and they're trying to come up with a way to pay rice farmers not to grow rice. So they're coming to the rice farmers with deals and they say, look, if you don't farm rice, then you won't take this much water. That water will be ours and we'll pay you this. And if they can pull that deal off, that's a great situation because the rice farmers only take the money. It makes them better off. The suburbans are obviously doing that because they value the water more than they're willing to pay the rice farmers. And we know that the water is actually going to the people who value it the most. So it is another good thing about this is, actually let me pause there. I'm going to show you how to, I want us to kind of do a thought experiment. This is the homework that I was 12 or 13, I don't know, that I want you to do for Wednesday's class. And it's really quite easy. I'm going to show you how to do it on here. You'll want to watch on the screen how I do it, and the page that has this assignment, there's a little YouTube video that repeats what I'm about to do here. If you do go to that video, you may have, for some reason I couldn't get the volume very loud, so you may have to listen carefully to really turn up the volume. On the announcements page, there's a link to this web page. This is student assignment due beginning of class March 27th. And what you do is this. You see the YouTube video I have down there. I want to take two products. And what I want us to do is think about all the inputs that go into those two things. We have retail beef or restaurant tortillas. Those are two products. Retail beef in the grocery store or the tortillas that you would get at a Mexican restaurant. Two products. It'll be your decision which one of these you do, but you only have to do one. And what you do is you pick one, and you go to click on it. And it brings you here. This is just a diagram. I've started a diagram. This is the diagram, and you're going to go into, you're going to edit it, and you're going to add one thing. Edit. It's going to bring up a screen that you can just ignore by clicking OK. I've done this in several browsers, so I think it works all right. But this is something I know we've never done before. Probably way to zoom, but I'm not seeing it the right way. Well, this is what it is. Up here, I've started something. It says retail beef and grocery store. And in parentheses, I put Norwood. You're going to add something to this diagram or the other. And once you add it, put your name in parentheses. And that's the homework. That's all it is. And what you do is, for retail beef and grocery store, this is me pretending to be you. I figure out an input into that production process. Well, for the retail beef and grocery store, we do the wholesale beef. So I drew a line to there, typed in wholesale beef, cut and packaged, put my name Norwood again. Someone else may come behind me and say, well, an input into wholesale beef is live cattle. You've got to take the live cow, you kill it, take the meat, that's wholesale meat, it goes to the grocery store. The live cattle, Norwood. Now I'm going to show you how to actually add the text and stuff in a minute. Some of you may come here and you may do another input into retail beef, like the packaging, the plastic in the packaging, the labor, certain types of labor in the grocery store, things like that. Most of you, by the time you get here, there'll be lots of inputs into retail beef. So you'll come down and write in an input to another input. And there's like probably 180 students in here, 2 different goods. So I'm hoping by the time we finish, we're going to have this huge diagram. Each thing showing an input that goes into another input that goes into another input, and so on and on, ultimately all used to produce retail beef. Now I want you to be thoughtful. You could go in here and say energy for everything. You could say labor for everything. You do that, you'll get some credit. But if you want 100, I want you to be at least a little bit thoughtful. The web is great for this. I want you to try to think about, be thoughtful about what goes into it. In the assignment, I even give you a little example. Like if you're thinking about, and I'm just describing the words that are here, if you're thinking about the live cattle, what's an input into that? Well, corn, what's an input into corn? Nitrogen fertilizer, what's an input into that? You need natural gas to produce nitrogen fertilizer. You can find that on the web easy. Some of the packaging, well, there's corn, and someone has to store corn between harvests. There's an elevator. The person running an elevator is a specific elevator manager. That's an input. The plastic bags that hold the tortillas that are sold to the restaurant, it's made with plastic. I did a really quick Google search and I found out that plastic is made from polyethylene granule resin. I have no idea what that is, but that's okay. I know it's an input. So I want you to be a little thoughtful into this. If it's a diagram, everything just says labor and energy, it's not going to do very much. You can certainly use labor, be specific. For instance, if you have an elevator, well, elevator is just a big corn storage or wheat storage. Just holds lots of grain. And, well, they're going to have insurance for that. You're going to hold lots of grain, you won't take out insurance policy. We have to buy that from an insurance company. Well, how are the premiums set? There's a person called an actuary who helps companies set premiums. That's a specific type of labor. You know, if all of y'all go and you go to retail beef and it looks just huge, you may want to back out and try the tortillas instead. Here's all you have to do to, y'all would figure this out on your own, I know. But y'all know it's kind of like PowerPoint. When you want to write letters, you go and you find the letter A and you click on it and you get a text button. When you want to draw a line, you find the line, you click on it, you draw a line. So I know this is really easy, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I want to write letters, so I come up here and I click A. I come over here and blah, blah, blah. So I have my letters now. Then I want to come over here and I want to draw my line, so I click this. I draw my line to it. And that's all. After you've done that, you want to go over here, make sure you save the diagram, and then exit out. Let's pretend that was a real input. I come over here, I save the diagram. And that's all. Yeah, oh, and your name, yeah. When I wrote blah, 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 I should have put in parentheses last name. Hold on for a second, please. Yes, ma'am?
So we add on to the one you already created, or do we create our own?
No, you add on. So there's two goods I started, and the diagram has been started. You add on to those. Yeah, there's this concern. Please listen to me. We have like 10 minutes left, and I'm really entertaining. This class is awesome. I'm so eager to go. There is a problem. There's nothing you could go in there and you could sabotage other people's. You could say this other person put an input. I'm just going to change their name to mine. I'm just going to have to trust you not to. If someone does that, just come to me and I'll work to make it right. Most of y'all are. You know, if you did that, y'all would probably harm me to benefit yourself. But you're far more reluctant to harm a fellow classmate. So I'm hoping we won't have that time. But if it does, you come see me. Any other? Okay, that's all I have for today. Remember to do this before class on Wednesday.